Meve and her Lyrians arrived at Fulberson's lands, home of the traitor she had let live. He greeted the queen with full honors. In ceremonial garb, a platter of bread and salt held aloft.
Your Grace, 'tis an honor to welcome you to my humble abode. Please, come inside. A fattened piglet already turns on the spit. Soon I shall fetch my best wines from the cellar.
Meve, having lived on nothing but salt pork and gruel for weeks, was tempted to accept the offer. Black Rayla, however, was strongly against it.
Ma'am, forgive my insolence, but to eat from a traitor's table is foolish. Don't do it.
Meve ignored Rayla's warning, and for her part, Rayla refused to partake of the feast. The queen attended in the company of only her closest advisors. The table groaned under all the refined delicacies laid out upon it, and rivers of wine were served. Fulberson delivered a flattering toast in Meve's honor.
You could search all the world and not find such a ruler. One so brave, so merciful, and so naive.
With these last words, heavily armed Nilfgaardian soldiers poured out of the adjoining rooms. Meve leapt away from the table, barely dodging the bolts sent flying towards her. She drew her sword.
Demavent hasn't a clue what he's doing.
You'll pay for this!
Fulberson, slayer of the great Meve. Sounds rather good, doesn't it? You fight in vain. This is where you die.
Quick and painful this'll be.
Company! Forward march!
Nothing personal, I assure you.
We must trust each other.
Coin never stinks, no matter how rank the pouch.
Her Majesty is exceptional.
Wait, you're serious?
Her Majesty knows what she's doing.
And just when you thought things were about to get dull.
We will never bow to the invader!
God, have mercy! They forced me!
Meve fought her way out of the trap, and Fulberson, a traitor twice over, finally died as he deserved, skewered on a sword in a puddle of blood.
Reynard,
Yes, Your Grace.
should I appear ready to forgive again? To let treason go unpunished?
The queen said, wiping her blade on a lace-fringed tablecloth.
Kindly remind me of Fulberson's feast.
Meve went on her way as soon as she could, taking with her a hefty load of the oath-breaking lord's belongings and some valuable experience.
Impudent child. Insolent beyond all measure.
Well, I had to try. Goodbye, Mother. And may you...
Hold. I didn't say I reject them.
It's come my turn to listen.
You're impertinent, villain. As you should be. Any future king must be certain of himself and his judgments. Rely on none but himself.
Thank you. I never suspected...
I'm not done. Time now you heard my conditions. You shall remove crown and royal cloak. You shall labour from dawn till dusk. And you shall fight at the fore in every battle. Is that clear?
Yes. Yes, Your Majesty.
It's settled then. Now the road beckons.
Willem bowed, turned, and walked away. Meve followed, still angry, though she could not stifle a smile. Soon thereafter, Maeve's army set out towards Rivia Castle. It would not be long now before the decisive battle.
How do you fare, my son? My advisors, have you met them?
I certainly tried, but they've no wish to speak with me. Begin to mumble when I draw near. Even the ridiculously reverent Count Reynard.
Well, suspicion must still grip their minds. And for good reason, you must admit.
Yes, I've got a lot of work ahead of me, that's plain to see.
And you shall get to it straight away. As soon as we've spoken. Your reforms. Tell me about them. You insist that I not repeal them. They must be a source of pride.
Mother, why must you mock me? If you wish, I shall tell you of my decrees, gladly so. Yet not dare you scoff them and ridicule me.
You're right, Willem. I'm sorry. That was unfair. I'm willing to hear you out.
I began by clarifying key aspects of the rights of spoil and staple.
Maeve listened intently and with rising interest. With her son's every word, her skepticism waned, giving way to swelling pride.
And thence my decision to revoke Sparless trade privileges. You stand quiet, Mother. Awfully so.
There are few things I enjoy less than admitting I was wrong. We'll go over it all again, Willem, in detail, when peace comes, at a meeting of the Council of Peers. General at Dahi, you must tell me more about him. I think it wise to know one's foes.
Actually, Mother, he reminds me of you, in many ways.
Truly? You're serious?
Mm-hmm. He's proud, confident, and positively loathes compromise.
I'll take that as a compliment. But do we differ in any way? I mean, besides the beard.
Contempt. He behaves as though he sees in us a different, lower race, the way some elves do. All the north he treats as a wilderness to be tamed, to be broken.
I saw this in Edirn. I know what you speak of. But I won't allow him to do anything of the sort.
Mother, I know Nilfgaard has not defeated you in battle. I know you've gone from one victory to the next, but I beg you, don't underestimate him. He's prepared to do anything, literally to win.
I wanted to thank you.
But whatever for?
For your courage in believing we could reconcile. For extending a hand and helping all this fall into place. I wouldn't have done so. Ever. I would have fought it to the bitter end.
Mother, I understand.
If we hadn't, well, what might have happened? I don't even want to think about it.
Then don't, please. Let's just leave this all behind us. It's the past.
We shall speak later, my son.
Yeah.
Maeve's closest advisors already awaited her in the command tent. In a few brief words, the Queen gave a report of the meeting, only with great effort masking the quavering in her voice.
An army, an immense one, approaches from the west. If we meet in open battle, we stand not a chance.
Damn it! Why did no one warn me?
Our scouts were discovered, captured. It must be that.
Yes, it didn't seem right. Our way so clear, so untroubled.
We must flee? Not at all heroic, I admit, but sure as hell better than being trampled into the dirt.
Easily said, but for a problem. Our force is chiefly infantry. The army that draws near includes cavalry, several regiments. We cannot hope to escape them. We cannot hope to hide.
What do you advise?
We've two options. Capitulate,
Out of the question.
or take the castle. Tonight.
Suppose for a moment it's possible. Tell me how and at what cost. Are we to scale a mountain of comrades' corpses to reach the top of the wall? I know we're at war and many die. But to command our troops to take that citadel is to condemn them to certain death.
Rivia's walls are unassailable, I fully agree. But there's more than one way to take any fort, and this fort too.
I think I like where this is going.
I know this citadel like no one else. I know its one potential weakness. The boat landing.
Wait, that narrowest of piers between the two turrets? The one where the fishermen would land?
The same. As I'm sure you recall, Your Grace, at that narrow pier's end stands a narrow door leading straight into the fortress. A small detachment could approach unnoticed, overwhelm any sentries, and get inside.
What then?
They would need to pass through the fort to the winch in the guardhouse, open the gate for the rest of the force.
That is suicide.
Perhaps, but as options go, we have it alone.
And I'm to choose to send folk there? Most certainly to die.
You needn't choose anyone, for I volunteer, and will take only those willing to do the very same.
Bloody wretched plan.
And you've a better one, do you?
Of course. I'll go instead.
Beg your pardon? I don't.
Face it, Reynard, you couldn't sneak past a corpse. Sound like a bloody tambourine in that armour, apart from which, you're Maeve's right hand. So you ought to be by her side when the fighting starts.
Firstly, Reynard, I'm grateful. Well done, my friend.
Thank you, Your Grace.
But truth be told, I did indeed hear you walking to the tent from the other side of camp. And yes, you know Rivia Castle better than anyone else. But the assault must transpire silently. Gascon will lead the force.
Understood, Your Grace.
Cheers, Maeve. I'll try not to disappoint.
You won't, I'm sure. God speed you on your way, and please, try your damnedest not to die.
Gascon hand-picked his men, those most adept with daggers, not swords. Noiselessly, they glided through the dark toward the castle, the light of its lanterns blurred by the evening mist. Maeve watched anxiously as the boats glided away, her heart pounding in her ears. All depended on this mission. The fate of her realms, perhaps all the north, the lives of her troops, and her own. Now there was naught she could do but wait.
Good luck,
she whispered, gazing at the fortress walls, cloaked by the dark that seemed to surround all now. The Lyrians prepared for battle, their silence absolute, in darkness, illuminated only by the pale light of the moon. Maeve was restless. She paced nervously in a circular pattern, awaiting the signal they'd agreed upon.
Blast, it's taking long. Much too long.
Finally, a torch's faint glow appeared atop the towering walls. It disappeared, then glowed again, and one more time around. Maeve leapt in the air, and as she did so, barely stifled a cry of utter joy.
They made it! It worked!
Moments later, Lyrians in the hundreds burst from the trees. The Nilfgaardian defenders loaded their catapults and ballistae. They did so slowly, convinced the castle walls remained impenetrable. Then they heard chains, grinding and clinking, and the sound sent shivers down their spines. Bewildered, they watched the main gate rise as the attacking force rushed forth. General Epdahi dispatched an elite unit to take back the winch at once. Yet he saw this was in vain and all was lost when Maeve rode into the castle courtyard. Maeve had begun the day known as a great warrior. Yet by night's end, legend was the cloak she wore. Her shield stopped powerful blow after blow as her blade found gaps in her foe's black armor. At first, Nilfgaardians scoured the fray in search of the queen, hoping to prove great heroes. Soon, she was their chief scourge, and they began to flee before her blade that sung their death.
Retreat! Retreat!
What was this extraordinary vigor that surged through Maeve? Naturally, she wished to liberate her castle and realm, drive off the invaders, defeat the arrogant General Epdahi. But in that moment, above all else, she longed to fight her way through to the guardhouse and bring Gascon's party relief.
Follow me! Move! Move!
Maeve had expected the worst, a bloodbath, piles of corpses. Yet all in the guardhouse was eerily quiet and calm. The door to the winch room lay shattered, true, but this was the one sign there'd been any sort of struggle. What happened here, she thought. Cautiously, she entered, looking, searching for any trace of Gascon and his fighters. Instead, she spotted Willem, curled up in a corner, clutching his bloodied belly, his fingers not enough to stop all the holes. Meve tore off her cloak and went to stem the bleeding.
Willem, what happened here?
My wrongs. I sought to right them.
Wheezed the prince.
Please, forgive me.
The young prince choked on this last word, did not manage to utter it, before his eyes went dull. Moments later, her men entered the room to find the queen kneeling, pounding the wall with her fists, her eyes flooded with tears. Willem lay motionless beside her, covered by her cloak. Gascon pushed his way through the other foot soldiers. He knelt beside the queen and whispered what had happened. His unit had not managed to reach the gate in time, but Willem had. Upon seeing Lyrian forces converging on the fort, the prince had rushed to the guardhouse and opened the gate himself. By the time Nilfgaardians closed it again, it was too late. The Lyrians were through. The queen rose, her fists clenched, her shoulders rigid, her knuckles white. Her face betrayed no sorrow, no despair, just rage, hot as a forge, immeasurable.
Now's not the time to mourn.
Seethed Meve, struggling to stay calm.
Now's the time for war, for slaughter, revenge. With victory today, we'll recover our home, return to our kin and set our blades aside at last. Yet until victory is ours, they must drink. Drink greedily of Nilfgaardian blood!
The Lyrians were at the brink, near their breaking point. They'd followed Meve for thousands of miles, over snow-clad peaks, through forbidding swamps. They'd fought, survived countless battles at her side, and though their gazes were now weary, she knew they'd follow her into fire.
Your Grace, the Blackclads, they've holed themselves up in the upper keep. We went to breach the wall, alas to no avail.
Meve nodded, twirled her sword, then leapt upon a mount. Her eyes spoke pure determination.
So we'll bloody well try again. This is the end, Ebdahi. Do you hear me? I shall stick your head on a pike!
I must thank you. Your fortress has superbly solid walls.
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
Baru?
Aye. This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads.
Enough! I do not need to hear this. Kill her! There!
Wait!
Fools! I'm surrounded by fools!
Yes?
Hey! Alba!
Nothing personal, I assure you.
Left, right, left, right.
Farmahagam!
Barbarians. Again and again and again.
Fuck, our arse is moving. No time for that!
Hellcats out!
Her Majesty knows what she's doing.
Everything all right? For you, pal! Anything.
There's been a mistake. I'm no mage.
I'm a monster.
The our forefathers!
When will you ever learn?
Archers, let it be night. Obscure the sun with arrows.
Greetings. What is it?
Scheiß! In zwei!
Off to the front yet again.
Kommissar hier. Scheiß! In zwei!
I warned you.
Off to the front yet again.
Groto dum anime est. Spes est.
Where is he? Tell me where!
Nilfgaard had the upper hand, yet the black-clad spirits had suffered. They now made more use of shields than of swords. When Meve finally broke through their line, they raised their arms in surrender. Rivia Castle had fallen. It was hers once more.
Trocker! Nein zu Wien!
Meve showed her prisoners of war mercy, knowing full well they'd only followed orders. Death would be the fate of only Ardal ep Dahi, the one Nilfgaardian who'd issued those commands. Alas, the general had disappeared. A prisoner revealed ep Dahi had fled as soon as the Lyrians had surged towards the upper keep. He had glided down to the lower castle in a wicker basket for transporting food. Curled up beneath potato skins and other scraps, he'd scurried away not unlike a common maggot. Meve cursed her luck and leaned back against a merlin. Dawn was yet a few hours off, but the horizon had already begun to glow blood red. The Nilfgaardian reserves now drew near, too late to prevent the castle's fall.
I'll get him,
muttered the Queen, more to herself than anyone else.
I swear on all that's sacred I'll catch the bastard. But now we've a pressing matter to see to. Preparing the defense.
That night the war turned, with the battle for Rivia Castle as its fulcrum. Meve's great victory, not only retaking the stronghold in a single evening, but also fending off a further invading army, proved the Nilfgaardian Colossus had feet of clay. The armies of the north had united and now seemed to be on the attack everywhere. Imperial forces, while still far more numerous, lay stretched over thousands of miles. Their position was untenable, and Nilfgaard's commanders knew this. In a decisive battle, they yet stood a chance, so they gave said battle, and suffered a resounding defeat. Just a few months on from that memorable night in Rivia, the Imperial army was in utter disarray. Aldersburg, the fortress, remained a last point of resistance. General Epdahi and what had survived of Army Group East had dug in there. This place, where Nilfgaard had triumphed grandly in the war's early days, would now bear witness to its impending defeat. It seems history, after all, has a sense of justice, or humor, or both. Though Meve had already reclaimed her realm, she refused to retire her sword just yet. For King Demavend had requested her aid in purging Edirn of the invader. How could she refuse? She owed the king a favor, firstly. Yet she also had a burning desire to settle the score with Epdahi.
Demavend's envoy and I spoke, Your Majesty. The king has Aldersburg surrounded. He awaits and won't begin the assault till you arrive.
Good. I truly hate to miss it. Tell the troops to prepare. Gear and ire.
Of course, Your Grace.
Yes? Is there something else?
Pardon my boldness, Your Grace, but I can't help but be concerned. You don't sleep. You've the air of illness about you.
Reynard, I just buried my son, who died in my arms, goddammit.
Yes. Died a hero, Your Majesty. I wasn't sure Willem could ever wash away the shame. He'd betrayed his country, his mother, aligned with the fiercest of our foes. But his actions in Rivia washed away his wrongs. Willem showed himself worthy to be called your son. I don't say any of this to deepen your grief, Your Majesty. I mean merely for you to be proud of him.
You're right. I thank you, Reynard. That I needed to hear. We've talked enough. We must march on to Aldersburg.
Your Grace, if I may. Some of our comrades in arms would like a word with you. The war nears its end. Paths are likely to diverge.
I see. Thank you. I shall stop by the mess tent later.
I'm pleased to see you again, Mom. You need something?
The war's near its end. The future, what does it hold for you, Isbel? Wise counsel will always find a place at my court.
A tempting offer, Mom. So be it. I shall stay. But I've one condition. You're never to force me to wear shoes.
Ha! These terms I can agree to. Duty calls. I must go.
Of course. Should you need me, I'll be here.
Yes, Your Grace?
The war nears its end. What next for Reynard Odo?
Whatever you command, Your Grace. Is something amiss, my lady?
To be perfectly blunt, I've no wish to give you orders anymore.
Your Grace? Would you wish me to leave? Remove me from the court?
No, Reynard. I'd wish you to stay. But I'd no longer wish to be your queen alone. Do you catch my meaning?
I do, Meve. I do.
It's time I attended to other matters.
Your Grace?
Sir Ake, you disobeyed my order.
Yes, but...
There are no buts. The words of the Queen are not verses from the good book, to be interpreted as you see fit. They are to be heeded by all, unconditionally.
Your Majesty, when your force I joined, I made clear I'd swear no oath of allegiance to you. For this I'd sworn already to the gods, and to scripture as contained in the good book. I abet you in your fight against Nilfgaard willingly, because this immoral empire has demonstrated injustice profound. But this does not mean I can turn a blind eye to trespasses on your part, nor that I shan't try to correct them.
All true. Such was our accord. I must respect it, I haven't a choice.
I thank you, Your Majesty. Many wander, go astray. Precious few acknowledge it.
The war nears its end. What next for you, Sir Ake? Will you remain in my ranks?
Alas, I cannot, as you know, Your Majesty. Having taken an oath, to it I must remain devoted.
It could take some time, this ridding the whole world of monsters.
Yes, but 'tis not a task for one man and his life. 'Tis a task for generations of noble knights. I have but begun this endeavour. 'Twill be for others to complete it.
Have you found any successes yet? Or promising prospects?
Truth be told, no. A life of poverty lived by the strictures of the good book attracts few. But, God's willing, I shall yet find one worthy to carry my sword and continue along my path.
I sincerely wish you do, Sir Ake. Farewell, Ake.
Hey ho, how's my favourite queen in the north?
Listen, I'd wish to speak again of...
Wait, I know what of, and you know it's a topic I'd rather not dwell on.
It won't help to let those thoughts fester.
And what would help? Barring a magical leap into the past, of course. Maeve, believe me, I've shed tears enough for my family. I've no need to think of it. No need to speak of it. And certainly not with you.
So, what awaits you now? What will you do?
Been contemplating it of late. Thought I might go back to the life of an outlaw. Not that I'd expect you to approve.
You're quite right, I wouldn't. It's why I wish to make certain you'll not feel tempted. Gascon, I hereby bestow upon you a number of estates near Scala.
What? Maeve? Damn it, I don't know what to say.
Ha! A first?
Thank you, Maeve. 1,000 thanks.
'Tis I who should thank you. With all my heart. It's time I attended to other matters. Farewell.
Huh? What is it now?
The war nears its end.
Sadly.
Sadly, why?
I survived. Again. Rebuild your land, Queen. Enjoy your life. Me and my men. We'll be moving on.
Arnulf, in Lyria and Rivia, your past matters not. Nor does your shame. Stay.
What about after? What do I tell my ancestors when the time comes? I yearn to sit at their table, lass, and drink mead in their company, so go I must.
So long, Arnulf.
Always good to see the Queen. How can I help you?
Our conversation in Mahakam. Do you recall it? When you resolved to join my force, leave your homeland?
Of course. Clear as day, that. You saved me and my clan. I'm in your debt. Will be for some time.
Well, we've won the war. And you had a hand in the victory. Heavily so. As I see it, you've more than repaid your debt.
Feeling a wee bit choked up, as King Desmond said when an assassin's bolt ran clear through his esophagus. Come here and give us a squeeze.
Later, perhaps. But Gabor, any plans for what comes next?
Ha! I wasn't expecting to have this chat, so I'm a bit caught with my knickers down past my knees.
War's over, but we've much left to do. Our relations with non-humans, for instance. I mean to improve them. And I think you could help, Gabor, greatly so.
Meaning, you'd like me to stay in your court? I'd see it as an honour, Your Majesty. An honour true.
We shall return to this conversation later.
No skin off my back. We seeing each other, Your Grace.
Yes?
War's nearly over. What will you do? Where will you go?
The war against Nilfgaard, perhaps. But others drag on, and will continue to do so.
What do you mean? What war will persist?
Scoia'tael survivors still hide in the forests.
Yes, but I've heard they retreat to the east. Simply let them go. Let them leave our lands. Why ever not?
To see them return even stronger? No. We must slit their throats, one and all. Now. Crush them like worms beneath our boots.
Rayla, at some point one must admit there's been pain enough. One must put away the bloodlust.
I shall do so in my grave, and not a moment sooner.
I must go. We'll speak later.
You need my help with anything? Anything at all. I've ideas aplenty.
We've come a long way, Barnabas. You've plans for the future?
We may have won the war, but I've orders still on my plate. So many riddles unanswered, so many inventions unrevealed.
Perhaps you could join my court. Continue your work there.
We get along splendidly, Your Grace, I know, but that's simply not the life for me. In situ, one sees nothing new, as they say. Besides, I have some unsavory memories from my time at the court of King Niedemir. Come to think of it, I do wonder if they ever managed to put out that fire.
I understand, Barnabas. Yet if ever you change your mind, you know where to find me.
Thank you, Your Majesty, for everything.
Time I attended to other matters.
Ah, yes, you're still here. Off you go, then.
Oh, look, 'tis Meave, slayer of the Blacklands. Long live the Queen!
The Lyrian army had grown into a great serpent. So much so that riding at the column's tail, Meave could not see its head. Footmen, cavalry, and archers stretched like a glistening snake between two horizons. Meave had come a long way indeed, and she felt proud. Suddenly, Meave heard angry cries and the clash of steel against steel, all at the column's front.
Close ranks! To the left! Man's left! Support the flank!
Meave drew her sword, spurred her horse, and galloped forward along the line of troops. Then, through the swirling battle dust, she spotted shimmering golden suns.
Surround them!
101, 102, 103. $152, $154.
Left, right, left, right.
Scrubbing duty again? Oh, gods.
No time for that!
As you command.
New orders? No?
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. Aye. Should have listened to me, old lady. My spirit's willing now, but these damn roots are killing me.
Vermögen!
En fiend!
Try!
Again and again and again.
Off to the front yet again.
Mercy! Have mercy!
Normally disciplined, determined to an extreme, these Nilfgaardians quickly broke rank and ran.
Deserters! Leaderless, your grace.
A scout reported.
Headed south they was, towards the frontier.
Chained prisoners now sat along the dusty road. Meave stopped in front of one. He was ragged and unshaven. Flies had taken an interest in his poorly bandaged hand. Spotting the Queen, he lowered his head and quivered with terror.
I know you take us for savages,
Began Meave, her gaze passing over several scraggy black-clads.
but fear not. We shan't flay you alive nor eat you for dinner. And when a truce is signed, you'll be sent home, where I most sincerely hope you'll stay this time.
As the Queen mounted her horse, she barely concealed a grimace. Her thighs were sore and chafed, her hands raw from the reins. But she bit her lip and rode on, for the prize was now very near.
Was in Aldersburg when it fell. Broke my heart, that did. But not complete. And we'll take it back.
Meave was listening to a scout's report when screams suddenly burst from the prisoner transport. In a moment, Meave bore witness to a truly macabre sight. The Nilfgaardian captives to whom she had recently been merciful lay dead, massacred in cold blood among the camp's tents.
Blast it all.
Seethed the Queen, looking at the bloodied corpses. Those responsible for the deed, peasants from the quarry at Ravencloft, Meave had welcomed into her ranks. The harm they'd endured from Nilfgaardians wielding whips, this was what had festered in their hearts and minds. The Rivians couldn't accept that their oppressors had gone unpunished. So they took matters into their own hands, in defiance of the Queen.
There's fiends, not folk!
Cried the peasants, now armed and in uniform.
They was owed this, plain and simple.
It had been justice by a mob, and Meave knew it should not go unpunished. Yet at the last, ignoring her advisor's counsel, she left the former slaves' fate for their commanders to decide. For the Queen had grown weary of choosing between two evils, each one darker than the other.
The good mothers guided you to victory.
Meve noticed one of her scouts, a certain Corporal Larkin, halt his mount and train his gaze on the woods.
Your Grace, I thought I heard something. Could have sworn. A whisper, maybe, but... nothing now. It's all gone quiet. I think I might have imagined it, in fact.
Imagined?
Meve placed her hand on his shoulder.
No one has sharper senses than you. If you claim to have heard something, it's worth a closer look.
Corporal Larkin saluted, then rode past the trees. Suddenly in shadow, he keenly scanned his surroundings. Something caught his attention. He dismounted, then brushed aside ferns, exposing tracks made in the mud.
Your Majesty!
He shouted, quickly turning towards the road.
Sound the alarm! It's Scoia'd!
An arrow whisked through the air, pierced his throat, and suddenly silenced him. Then the forest came alive with cries in the Elder tongue. Elves on the attack.
It's a trap! 2 arms!
I told you it'll never end.
Show me the coin or sod off.
Should have listened to me, old lady.
Nej, du undviker mest.
This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads. Our ballista, your command.
Let us sing the song of steel!
Your tricks will not save you, Dwarf.
Her Majesty is exceptional.
I shall not fail! None shall tread on us!
Have strength, my love.
Oh, my little egg.
There's been a mistake. I'm no mage.
The storm is coming. Let's enjoy the weather while we still can.
Renna! Stop! We surrender!
The Scoia'tael fighters stood no chance against Meve. When the sounds of battle finally ceased, the Queen, victorious, tossed aside her arrow-studded shield. She then ordered the commando's leader brought before her. She'd expected a ranter who would turn up his nose, spit in her face, and cry, "Death to all Dwan!" But the bloodied elf before her was no arrogant firebrand. He averted his gaze, and his lips gently trembled.
Youthful you look, elf. How many summers to you? 30? More?
27, my lady.
27. A wonderful age. A shame to die so young.
I beg you, Renna. For mercy, I ask. If not for me, then at the least for...
Mercy? You jest. You wait in ambush, come at us like bandits, and now you dare ask for mercy.
It was no ambush.
Don't play me for a fool. I know what I saw, and am no stranger to warcraft.
It's not you we wished to fight. Sverre.
Then who killed Corporal Larkin, Werebubs?
When we saw you on the high road, we fell back and hid in the wood. We wanted you to pass. Your scout's hearing very keen. He heard something, then spotted our tracks. You must understand. We had no choice.
You know you might have surrendered.
Like Dristan's commando. Is that what you mean? They laid down their arms before an Edirnian general, who ordered them hanged. One and all. If we're to die, we prefer to die bows and swords in hand.
Why are you here? Were you to rescue Epdahi?
Rescue someone? No, Renna. We flee. The Nilfgaardians have realized they'll lose the war and have renounced us. Without their support, we stand no chance. Demavend has loosed his hounds. They hunt our units one by one. He's offered 50 gold pieces for the head of each Scoia'tael. It's the same in Temeria and Kedwen, if not worse. We wished to join with your Veth's unit, flee together as far as we could. It was our last hope.
Why do you tell me all this?
Because you listen still. You've not ordered me killed, so... you've clearly a heart. Eseth Aina Edu.
Elves often speak beautiful words. But it's for their deeds you must judge them, Your Grace. The Moulderwood, remember what you saw.
I beg you. So few of us remain. All tired, all wounded. We pose no threat. Let us leave your realm. Let us flee.
Enough senseless killing for one day. So be it. You're free to leave.
I don't know how to thank you.
Make certain I don't ever regret this decision. 'Twould be thanks enough.
Your Majesty, they attacked us, came at us unprovoked.
Truly, Rayla. Unprovoked. Because it seems to me, we've provoked them for years.
I thank you for your compassion towards me and all my folk.
Meve personally unfastened the prisoner's chains as her Lyrians looked on in silence. They did not approve, this was clear. Their displeasure was palpable.
Treat yourself to our new...
Fresh eggs for sale!
Sausage! Cheese! Milk! Exotic silks!
Berries and grains expel without a strain.
As ever, the market in Harmelan bustled with life. Though that particular day, Meve was earnestly surprised at the sight. For just months before, Nilfgaard had leveled the city. Harmelan's rebirth was now well underway. Folk hammered and sawed, and the scent of fresh mortar filled the air as the city rose from its ashes. In spite of the chaos, the mayor recognized the Queen. He rushed over to greet his illustrious guest.
All this must cost a veritable fortune. Where did you get the coin, good man?
It's a loan. Altogether unbelievable. A vast sum at a very low rate, to be repaid a century down the line.
My. A banker with deep pockets and a generous spirit. Droll, I'd say, if I wasn't eager to meet him.
Nothing simpler, Your Grace. He lives in a house on the market square.
Intrigued, the Queen asked to meet the mysterious financier. And who should come out to greet her, if not Mirko Vidmar? When last they'd met, Meve had helped the dwarf to raise the funds for his enterprise.
I cannot believe my eyes. My royal benefactor. Oh, dinna just stand there. Come in.
The bank was a frantic flurry of activity. Papers rustled, coins clinked, and stamps slammed the countertops.
You gave the city a loan, I heard. Preferential, to say the least. An entire century to repay it.
What's the rush? Fact is, I enjoy seeing them work. The progress they make, it's mental. Every last one of them builds what he wants. In Mahakam, we'd spend a year debating whether to pound a nail 9 times or 10.
The Queen and Mirko shared a sumptuous dinner. They toasted his success, and she set off once more. The following morn, the quartermaster approached. A vexed grin on his face, he reported the news. Soldiers had found a chest in one of the wagons. When opened, it proved to be brimming with gold. None could say for certain whence it had come, but Meve had her suspicions.
It'd be an honor to fight at your side, Majesty.
Valyrian corps neared Aldersburg, and it could not have been on a more idyllic day. The sun shone, birds sang, trees rustled in a light breeze. But Meve saw it as she had at the war's start. Walls illumined by a fire's glow, the cries of fleeing civilians, the stench of burning flesh. As on that day, Aldersburg was under siege. At this time, Eden's flags fluttered in the field, while Nilfgaard's tattered sons crowned the fort's towers. The Queen found Demoven's tent without difficulty. Made of sheets of silk edged with silver thread, it positively shone.
Seems the realm's restored to a virtuous path,
muttered Meve.
Aha! There she is! Queen Meve, savior of the North, the Sun's Slayer.
Mockery I don't appreciate.
I wouldn't dare. Not my words, those. You've been painted thus in song. Master Dandelion himself wrote a ballad, The Battle for the Bridge. If you take the bard at his word, you're as fierce with a blade as any witcher.
Is that jealousy I hear?
To be perfectly honest, Meve, it is. For I hadn't the pluck nor resolve. And when all the North tucked tail, went to shite, you alone stepped up and bared your fangs. Let it be a lesson for the future to us all.
You called out the future. Tell me, how's your son?
Baldwin. Growing like a weed he is. And the spitting image of his old man.
Good news all, especially given the mother's profession.
She's now Countess Demeretta of Gullet, a lady of the court.
Your lawful wife must be thrilled.
Hard to say in truth. I've not seen her in some time. Duty keeps me away, you understand.
You work hard, I'm certain. Many a night, too.
You might say so indeed. But enough about me. As we're chirping away like two gossips in the field, do tell me, what a villain.
He perished in the assault on Revere Castle.
Oh my. Fighting for which side?
The right one. Demavend, the wound is fresh, the pain immense. I'd rather we not speak of it. A lesson for the future? What do you mean?
My dear, this war won't change a bloody thing, you know. Nilfgaard will be Nilfgaard, the North. We'll sign a truce, the Blackclads will turn tail towards home. But the old borders don't satisfy us so.
I'm perfectly satisfied with them, thank you. And I just wish other folk would respect them too.
Eve, you're one hell of a warrior, but you're no strategist at all. Your perspective, you've got to broaden it. Nilfgaard, we cannot allow it to regain strength and spirit, else we'll face another invasion within a decade or two. Measures are required. Preventive, preemptive, whatever the learned call it. Build an army, a vast one. Wait in ambush. And when they least expect it, break their bloody spine. Just think if we were to join forces.
Enough. I don't wish to hear it. Won't even entertain the thought. I'll help you take Aldersburg, but then I'll go home, where, God's willing, I'll live to a ripe old age.
As you wish. We can mount the assault at any time, but...
But?
My scouts report a small Nilfgaardian force approaching from the south. They've stayed off the roads, moved only under the cover of night, escorting someone.
Who?
I've no notion. Could be a mage. Devilishly unpredictable, that lot. Could wreak havoc in our ranks. Either way, before we rush at the walls, we must make certain they don't reach Aldersburg at all.
I shall see to it.
Are you sure? You've just arrived. Must be weary after the long journey.
An understatement if I ever heard one. But I wish all this to be over, quickly.
Neve set out after the Nilfgaardians immediately, a cavalry escort in tow. Her unmatched scouts, who had led the army through the mountains of Mahakam and Angren swamps, quickly found the enemy's trail.
This way, Your Grace. There's not far now.
That very same day, Neve's force caught up to the mysterious black-clad unit. Lyrian riders surrounded the foe, forcing the Nilfgaardians to halt. All felt so quiet, the creaking of taut Lyrian bowstrings could be discerned.
The common tongue. Which of you knows it?
I do, Your Majesty.
You also know who you deal with, I see. What is your name?
Kaldvin, Your Majesty.
At last. A Nilfgaardian name I can pronounce. So, Kaldwin, it seems this war will reach its end in 2 days' time at the most. 'Twould be silly to die today, wouldn't you agree?
It would, milady.
Precisely. I've spilled enough blood. I've lost the appetite for more. So, provided you don't give me a good reason to kill you, you'll walk away with your lives. Now tell me. You carry something for General Ebdahi. What is it?
A letter.
Urgent to the point of insanity, it must be. Who wrote it? The dear Madam Ebdahi?
No, Your Majesty. The Emperor.
My. A letter from Emir himself. You must be an important person. A noble, or... Yet your uniform is simple, with no discernible distinctions. Who are you truly, Kaldwin? A spy?
A simple messenger, Your Majesty.
Don't lie. I know messengers, how they travel. Alone, armorless, atop a swift steed. You're escorted by cavalry of the heavy sort.
For I often carry orders the recipients don't wish to perform, thus the escort.
Give me the letter.
I've sworn to deliver it to General Ebdahi, or to die in the quest to do so.
Oh, very well. My translator shall read this letter, then return it to you. You shall break no vow, and who knows? You might even survive.
And if I refuse?
Guess.
So be it. I accept your offer.
Neve's translator cracked the seal and read. and as he read, his eyes grew wide as saucers. Then he whispered in the Queen's ear.
Truly, and you're certain you're not mistaken. The wonders of this world. Coldwyn, consider this your lucky day. I allow you to complete your mission, with one proviso.
And that is?
That when you hand him the letter, you will give the General my regards.
As Caldwyn and escort set off towards Aldersburg, the Lyrian soldiers looked at their queen with disbelief. To leave a Nilfgaardian to fulfill a secretive task. Meve failed to stifle a rather mean laugh. They'll understand tomorrow, she thought. General Epdahi had prefaced Lyria's and Rivia's invasion with a series of arrogant demands. The Nilfgaardian had been impudent, as he had felt sure he'd achieve a quick and decisive victory. Yet several months on, he too received an ultimatum. One signed by Emperor Emir var Emreis himself. The missive was concise and left no room for interpretation. With General Epdahi dead, the Nilfgaardian army descended into chaos. The kings of the north, united, took advantage and struck at the foe. Their victory was complete. The Nordling forces cheered their commanders and monarchs, but for none so vehemently as the one queen among them. Many dream of achieving the impossible. Meve had done it. Through wit, determination, and boldness, she had thwarted the Nilfgaardian invasion. The queen would rule for many more years. Stern, yet ever just.
Ah! So a lass saved the North from the Blackclads?
That is one way to put it.
Well, I'll be damned. And a chap, she find herself one in the end?
Leave it be. Bloke's been spinning the tale all night. Story's done. Time we got some shut-eye.
Yes. Particularly as we've yet a long road before us.
Phew. Throat must be parched as old leather after all that. Except, I'm itching to know what happened to the lot of them. Reynard, Gascon.
Ah, very well. Whom shall we start with? Willem? A pawn, a tool in others' hands. Most, if not all, had seen him thus. Yet in the end, he proved his worth soundly. Though he'd started the war a traitor, he perished in the fray a hero, and would be remembered as such. Having settled in Rivia, Gascon embarked on a life worthy of his noble origins. In doublet and ruff, he looked to his ample fields and livestock in daytime, attended banquets and feasts come the eve. And then one night, he grabbed his bow and quiver, saddled his favorite mount, and disappeared without a trace. As news of the Nordling victory filtered south, Nilfgaard's inhabitants greeted it with disbelief. Returning Imperial soldiers told stories of Lyria's cruel queen, who murdered prisoners and sullied sacred laws. They referred to her as Gvaeldet, the bloodthirsty one. Once the Scoia'tael had withdrawn from the northern realms, non-rebel elves and dwarves emerged from the woods. Though they returned to their homes in human communities, they lived in fear of their neighbors, aware that the next massacre would eventually come. And Meve? As I said, she ruled with an iron hand, not fist. Reynard ever at her side, tempering, supportive. No longer a general and trusted advisor, he had to the Queen become something more. Much, much more. And now, if you'd allow me...
Course. Leave him be, lads. Let him get some rest. Till the time comes for the next tale.